Bro, what tripped me out the most is realizing I could afford anything I wanted to afford as long as I told myself I was able to. For example, I used to think I could only afford rent, like having a home, until I told myself we need a business location too. And then literally my revenue started to support what I was telling myself I deserve. And I don't know why I'm talking hard. It could just be the tism. But I said all that to say, I think I'm starting to understand financial literacy on a spiritual aspect deeper than I used to. So not only is it speaking things into existence, right? But knowing that it'll work out. But only a small percentage of people really can operate that way. Because we've been so taught to live in fear, especially if you black. You know how many generations your people have been oppressed, baby? So yeah, if you just start telling yourself what you can afford and not get scared when what you see in your bank account don't match your desires, and you let your desires call the shots to your bank account, meaning whatever you desire, you tell yourself your bank account, your financial flow, anything and everything will forever be what it needs to be so that you can get what you want. I feel like that's right there is another key to life.
Eddie's brothers. Man, I want to talk about how being myself got me to Thailand. How just being myself got me to Thailand. And what I really want to talk about is how you being yourself is going to open up every single door that's in front of you. Every single hurdle, every single pitfall or barrier is going to open up every single door that's in front of you. And I'll be honest, the whole reason this conversation came up, or this video idea came up, is because I'm always talking about, especially in my book, The Singular Truth, I'm always talking about make sure you're the same person in every room. And what made me think about it is I was going through some feeds this morning, and I saw a quote by Jay-Z that I heard a million times where Jay-Z said, "I'm the same person in every room I walk in," or something like that, right? Like I'm the same person. He said, "I'm myself in every room," or something like that, right? And I said, you know what? I've heard that quote a million times for years, but every single time I heard it, I was digesting it as something else. I was digesting that quote as him saying, kind of just like him, being proud of himself, him, being the boss, and him having not to, I just took it a different way. But when I read it today, I said, you know what? Like, that's what I've been saying. And I know a lot of people hear that quote and they hear it at face value and not understanding like the meat and potatoes or the weight of that quote. The weight of that quote. When he says I'm myself in every room, he's saying I'm pretty much living in my truth. There's only one version of me. And I know it sounds simple, but you got to understand the power behind living in one version of yourself is the power that comes with that. Now, taking that same quote and going over to the spiritual side of it, and I don't know what the Bible verse is, but somewhere it says, where two or more are gathered, I am there also, right? Popular quote, common quote. And a lot of people take that quote as, hope y'all can hear me. A lot of people take that quote as, hey, you know what? When I put myself in church, or when I put myself amongst a community, then if there are two or more of us there, then God shows up. But think about how restrictive that is. Think about what happens if a person is put in confinement, if a person is placed by themselves. Are you saying that since there aren't two, then God can't be with that person? So you got to understand, when the Bible says that, it's talking about what I call the first, second, and third marriage of man, which the first marriage of man, when a man's higher self and lower self come together, right? And when I say higher self and lower self come together, it's the same thing. Meaning, same thing Jay-Z said, I'm myself in every room. Meaning there's only one version of me. There's only one version of me. Because you got to understand the majority of people are pretenders. The majority of people are pretenders. And I know that's a strong word, like I'm trying to come down on people, but I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying most people, when I say most people are pretenders, I'm saying that we are trained from birth pretty much to conduct ourselves certain ways in certain environments. When you go to school, conduct yourself like this. When you go to church, conduct yourself like this. When you go to court, conduct yourself like this. Having no idea, of course, we fit into society, but we're stripping ourselves of God. We're stripping ourselves of God, right? So to get to really what I want to talk about, it's not even like I've always understood this. I didn't really understand this until 2020. I didn't understand the power of a truth, is what I'm getting to. I didn't understand it until 2020, when for the first time my higher and lower self became one person, right? And I was still working. I was working for Cummins Inc., right? And I can remember when my higher self and lower self came together, there was only one version of me. Meaning when I went to work, when I went to the lodge meeting, when I went to church, whatever I went, it was one version of me, right? And I'm gonna tell you the power of that. The power of living in the power of having one version is the world bends to you. The world responds to you in a powerful way, because now God is present. Now, like when I'm always saying, hey, the world is responding to your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors. When you're tied in and you just have one truth, you walk in every room as one being. You gotta understand that's magnified, right? And that gives you the power. That gives you the power to really command what you want to, the way you want life to be, to command what rooms you want to be in, to command what scenarios you want to be present in. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple, but it's that powerful. I'm gonna tell you this: a lot of things are gonna happen when you find your truth, though. And it's just hit me. A lot of things are gonna happen. You walking in your truth, you walking as one person in every room, is going to expose everybody in the room. Because the thing is this: once you move like that, I'll say it like this. Like when we're out and about, and we're society, again, when we're in church, when we're in school, when we're in this place, we conduct ourselves a certain way. But when you walk in your truth, it commands another person to walk in their truth. It commands a person. Like, for example, if I'm around a stranger, or not just me, anybody that's walking in their truth, if you're around a stranger, they can no longer play the game. They can't play the game like, okay, we're in church, let's conduct ourselves like this. Just because you're in the room, now they have to conduct themselves based on their truth. And I remember one thing I saw when I was working, man, when I started walking in my truth, like my employer, my managers, they started acting different, man. And it was because they had to be in. And I saw how they really, hated me because of certain features, my skin color. I saw how they hated me, man. I was like, where'd that come from? Like, I've been here for 4 years. Like, we've been working shoulder to shoulder. Now that I'm different, now I see you. At the same time, it knocked down walls as far as like my customers. I had a lot of customers, man, and I can remember when I began to walk in my truth, customers, man, that were difficult at one point in time, man. We ended up having some of the greatest relationships because they saw my truth and it brought out their truth, and we saw that, hey, you know what? We really want the same thing. We really want your company to win, and they saw that in my truth. But the meat and potatoes of what I'm getting to, man, is, again, it gives you the power to command what room you want to be in. It's a powerful place, man. So going back to when I was working on my job, life was good. I was walking in this power, and all of a sudden I said, you know what? I want to be in a different room. I want to be in a different room. So I began to see myself as an entrepreneur. I began to see myself as being able to take care of myself, be self-employed. And I began to walk in that energy. It was my only truth. So whether I'm at work, whether I'm at Juma, whether I'm at my parents' house, there's only one version of me. And since I had that version locked in, and since my identity was, this is what I am now, that life formed around me, and quick. in a matter of months, man, I went from doing just major numbers at the company. Like my territory, man, was doing major numbers. I had big oil field deals. I had, you know, like big like dart accounts in Dallas, man. I was getting to that bag at Cummins. But all of a sudden, when my truth changed, like the version of me that walked in every room changed to I'm an entrepreneur. After 4 years of riding a high horse, my career just started to tank. And that's when I'm always talking about that old world starts to crumble. My world started to crumble, man, because I was building something else, right? Long story short, in a matter of months, I found myself working for myself. I created a whole new world. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy how things can happen, man. Like the things right now, the things that you say, hey, you know what? This is my goal. I see myself in this area. Like a lot of people on my videos here lately, a few brothers, man, much love. Thank y'all for commenting. A lot of brothers are saying, hey man, hey Soul, I'm gonna see you in Thailand in a couple of years. I'm gonna be there, you know, when XYZ takes place, or I'm gonna stack my bag and I'm gonna get over there. And I love that, man. But you gotta understand, like, and this is what took me a long time to understand until 2020, right? You have to understand that time, when I say time is an illusion, I don't want to go down that whole conversation, but when I say time is an illusion, time and what you're experiencing is completely based on your truth, completely based on your I am, completely based on the agreement that your higher and your lower self have come to agreement on. Take a second to digest that, man. Time is an illusion. So when you say, hey man, in so many years, I wanna be a certain place, or a lot of y'all sisters are saying so many years, I wanna find a husband. Like, your world is going to change the moment your truth changes. Your world, kind of going back to what I was saying, your world is going to change the moment you walk into every room as a wife. Huh? You walk into every room as a husband, brothers. Which means when you go to the day party, yeah, you might conduct yourself like, yeah, let me conduct myself like I'm looking for wife type. But when you at the strip club with your partners, hold that same energy. When you at church, hold that same energy. When you at the lodge meeting, when you at the frat party, hold that same energy. Like if I took every single person, I'm gonna tell you this, if I took every single person in my contact list, some I haven't talked to in years, some I might have dated back in 2012, some I might have used to went to church with back when I was 6 years old, some I might have served in the military with, some I might know from content creation, some I might have met while traveling overseas. If I took every single person and put them in one room, and I got on stage and I started talking, nobody in that room would say, "What? Who is that? Why is he acting like that? Why is he talking like that?" Nobody would say that. Nobody would say that. Because I'm the same soul in every room. When I'm at my mama's house, I'm soul. When I'm at the day party, I'm sold. When the money is long, I'm sold. When the money gets low, I'm sold. You have to be the same person in every single room. You have to understand. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I had no idea there was that much power behind that. If you want to feel what it feels like to walk with God, come to agreement with your higher self. In other words, when I say that, for y'all that haven't read the book, get the book. Right now it's free shipping. Get A Singular Truth. You have to understand. Oh, they caught my eye, man. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, I was saying the power behind it. Oh, yes, what I was saying. Now, you gotta understand this. And I'm convinced in this. I know a lot of y'all gonna disagree. You have a lot of people that are wearing robes in certain parts of the country. You got people that are preachers and pastors, and you got men of the cloth. You got people that are saying, hey, you know what? I know God. Walking on church, you know, those people shouting and coming out their wigs. You have to understand, a lot of these people have no idea who God is. Think about what I'm saying. A lot of these people have never even met God. What you talking about, soul? Even the Bible says, pretty much until two come together, like you won't even know me. At least two have to come together for you to even see God. So if your higher self and your lower self have never come into agreement, have never walked in one energy, you don't know God. And I'll be honest, man, I can't say I never met God in my life before 2020, because I was never, I'm not saying I lived multiple lives, but I can confirm that I saw the face of God in 2020 when I quit my job. When I walked to that energy, I literally saw, I don't want to have food in my mouth, man. I mean some spinach and rice on green, all of my teeth. I literally saw the world bend for me. I literally saw my actions. Listen to what I'm saying, man. Listen to what I'm saying. I literally saw my demeanor, my actions, my words, and my thoughts bend my reality. Going back, saying what I'm saying. When I said, hey, you know what? I want to quit my job. I've been trying to do this for 5 years, 7 years. Like, I've been grinding, trying to get it. The moment I agreed, the moment I walked into every room as myself, like Jay said, I walk into every room as myself. The moment I did that, I literally saw something that I've been trying to do for 7 years. Something that I saw maybe 2 or 3 years ahead of me, if I can figure it out. I literally saw that thing take place in 6 months. When I found myself in 6 to roughly 9, because the first 3 months I was trying to identify myself, but once I identified who I was and began to walk in that energy, 6 months I was walking away from my job. 6 months I was quitting. 6 months I found myself in a world that I didn't even know existed. So fast forwarding, man. That's why I say just being myself got me to Thailand. Me just waking up being. Let me pause, because of course, like I was an entrepreneur. Then once, of course, y'all know I was living in Dallas. Life was good. I created a life there. I don't want to skip that, man. Like I saw myself in a home that I saw. You know, before I moved into that home, man, I said, you know what? Maybe one day in the future, I better get me a house. I found myself, man. Me and my son were living in a home, man, almost 4,000 square feet. You know, we both had an office, bedrooms we weren't even sleeping in, movie theater, big kitchen. Like, life was good, you know what I'm saying? And all that was created because I made that version of myself, and that world came to see me, right? So anyway, like what I was saying, living in Dallas. And then I said, hey, you know what? I said, when my son graduates, we're going to be living overseas. We're going to be living overseas. Even then, I was still kind of like, I don't really know how that's going to take place, and And I said, you know what? Why am I sitting there trying to figure it out instead of just becoming a thing? So about 6 months, about 8 months, man, right before my son graduated, I just became somebody else. Which means the rooms that I was walking in before, now when I walked into those rooms, I was somebody else. I was somebody else. And that world had to come see me. Forgive me, man, if I got food in my teeth, man. I'm sitting there eating at, what's the name of this place? Ban Yin. I'm out here in Chitlom, the Chitlom area. Still kind of just scouting out different areas, man, that I want to move to for the long term. And Chitlom is definitely probably at the top of the list right now. Hey, if y'all want to check out what Chitlom is like in other areas of Bangkok, check out Asian Travel 4K. Brother Brass over there, man, it's covering all the major points of the city. Go subscribe to that channel. Tell them Soul sent you, right? But going back to what I was saying, so even getting to Thailand, it wasn't a matter of me trying to figure it out. And I'm really speaking to y'all right now. It's not a matter of you trying to figure it out. Hey, how am I going to get to Thailand? How am I going to get my bills paid? How am I going to get income? How am I going to do this? I get it. Those questions are supposed to come up. But I'm telling you to bypass all that. I'm telling you to, okay, take those thoughts and put them in your mental parking lot. Yeah, I'm not saying get rid of them. Put them in your mental parking lot, but then bypass that and walk with God. Bypass that and agree with your higher self. Right? And that's a whole 5 hours. I'm not gonna, I've talked about that, or you've seen 4 Levels of Becoming. I'll leave a link to get 4 Levels of Becoming if anybody wants to get it. But bypass that and just agree with yourself. And I promise you, by law, that world has to come. It has to come see you, because this is what's going on. For y'all that haven't read A Singular Truth, I'll give you this spiel in 30 seconds. You have to understand that when I say the world is responding, I always say that the world is responding to who you are, right? Everybody, the majority of people wake up every single day and they look at TV or they read the newspaper or they get online and they listen to what the world is telling them to do, how to act, how to dress, how to speak to women, how to do this, right? Having no idea that the world is responding to you. Don't respond to the world is responding to you. So when you get up and say, life is good, the world is saying, so mote it be. Life is good for this man. When you get up and say, man, my money is funny, the world is saying, so mote it be. Life is funny. So the world is always responding to your I am. So when you wake up and say, you know what? I love this job, but I'm an entrepreneur. Let every single thing about my energy, my demeanor, the way I speak, the way I walk, and the way I talk, the way I interact with people, let it be based on this new identity. And your higher self and your lower self agree on that. And when I say that, what I mean is your spirit side and your ego side agrees to it. To break it on down, the physical side that says, hey, the physical side, this body that you're using to watch this video now, it typically says, hey, I have limitations. My income is this, my job is this, my credit score is this, my da-da-da-da-da. But your spiritual side is saying all things are possible through this Christ side that I reside in. When both sides agree to one thought, to one energy, that's why I say it's a marriage. When your ego looks at your spirit and say, hey, you know what? I'm agreeing to that. Not only am I agreeing to that, I'm going to walk as if that is. The world has to come see you. So really what it boils down to, and I'm going to wrap this up because my food getting cold. Really what it boils down to is, and I've been saying this a million years, I say the most important thing that a man must ask himself when he wakes up in the morning is what? I ain't got to say it. Is who am I and where am I going? Who am I, where am I going, and what is my truth? Who am I? Think about this. Think of every single day you woke up, the first thing you said is, who am I? Because I'm going to tell you what happened. The moment I started waking up and saying, hey, who am I? My name is Soul. I am Soul. I live in Thailand. I have this. I am that. I am that. And get out of bed and walk in that energy as if it is. Even my conversation changed. Because I knew my time was on the clock from being in the U.S. Everything about me changed. You know what I'm saying? I had identity. I had direction. And I was walking in a new truth. So by me doing that, I don't care what the world was doing. I don't care what politics was doing. I don't care what the dot was doing the dollar was doing compared to the bot. I had to find myself here. You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is your identity is going to get you in every single room that you want to. And if that room is Thailand, then conduct yourself as if it already is. If that land is Kenya, conduct yourself as already is, man, and watch what happens, brothers.